Tal Gur, please come to the stage. So this week is Tal's birthday.
Oh.
And I don't know if it's on his bucket list, but I bet he's never had 500 people sing him happy birthday before. And this is another fear. I've never sang in front of 500 people before, so please don't leave me hanging. Will you guys join me in singing happy birthday to Tal? All right, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tal. Happy birthday to you. Tal Gur, everyone.
Wow, so many people. I have to say, I'm a little bit nervous. My friend Nadav, where are you, Nadav? You here? He told me to imagine all of you naked, so I apologize in advance, especially the first row, because I'm going to look at it. So my topic for today is freedom. How many people here would say that freedom is a big driving force in their life? Makes sense, yeah? Digital nomads, everyone. But my question is, freedom for what? Now that may sound like a silly question, but in my case, that changed everything. That was a game changer question. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I want to share with you my 100 Life Goals journey, story. It started 10 years ago. I lived in Australia. I was 30 years old, just finished my master's degree. And I asked myself the big question, what's next? I wasn't sure where I'm heading. So I had this conversation with two friends of mine, and I said, let's create a bucket list, life goals list. And one of my friends said, he refused to participate in the game. He said, I'm not planning my life so far ahead because my dad died when he was 40 years old. And when he said that, I froze. Something froze inside of me, and a question came up. How would I live my life if I had 10 years to live? I would definitely not wait for retirement. I would fully live. I wouldn't wait. I would go for my dreams. So I set 100 life goals. I went back home, wrote a list of 100 life goals. I gave myself 10 years. I set 10 categories, areas of life. The list wasn't fixed in stone, but what was fixed was that I promised myself that every year I would pursue at least one big goal. So guess what happened the first year? Absolutely nothing. I completely forgot about my list. And maybe that's the first tip I want to give today. Writing goals, setting goals is not enough. Something else is needed. In my case, it was pain. So they say pain is the biggest driving force for change, and in my case, that was the case. So the pain at the time was, I was in Australia, as I said, and my English wasn't that good. I wasn't fluent in English. I felt disconnected with Australia. I remember socializing and feeling this pain inside that I'm feeling a little bit disconnected. And that actually drove me to go back to my list and pursue the first goal. So sometimes I look at these photos and I can't even recognize myself. But the first year was the year of socializing, and the big goal was to 52 weekends in a row to socialize and party. So every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I went out and bothered people and talked and just socialized. And by the end of the year, I was a transformed man. My confidence increased. I even got promotion at work. I had a girlfriend. Life was good. And that gave me confidence to go to the next year. And the big goal that year was Ironman Triathlon, and I did it in New Zealand. So I used the same immersion that I use in the social year. Basically train 7 days a week, morning and evening. And by the end of the year, I achieved my goal. I was very proud of that. But again, pain. The second pain was around my financial situation. So I was carrying $34,000 in debt with me, student debt. And also the social year and the partying didn't really help. And I remember the credit card max, and I couldn't pay the rent. It was pretty painful. So I launched the Year of Freedom. And the big goal that year was financial freedom. Now, my definition of financial freedom may be different than yours, but it was passive income greater than lifestyle expenses. You're basically free. So at that time, I built a website. You probably can't see it, but it's in Hebrew for Israelis who want to move to Australia, want to travel, want to migrate, learn, study, and it created some passive income. So I was confident that if I increase the traffic here and build more sites, I'll be free. I also started a blog and announced my kind of challenge. And maybe that's another tip that I want to share, that if you have a big goal, share it with the world. People may help and you'll have more accountability. But, you know, I had this $34,000 debt. A website that generating some advertisement income wouldn't be enough. I don't know how many people know about AdSense, but AdSense is not such a big income. So this time there was a crisis. It wasn't a pain, it was big. And the crisis was my parents flipped their car. They lived in Israel, I lived in Australia. And I remember my sister calling me and say, Tal, our parents are in the hospital. It's a critical situation. And I felt this big pain in my stomach. And there was another pain. The pain was that I had to ask permission from my boss to actually go to Israel. I didn't like the word boss. I didn't like the fact that I have to ask permission. I didn't like the fact that I have such a big debt. So that was the motivation for me to actually go and pursue financial freedom in 1 year. I worked like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I achieved my freedom. I built a lot of websites, and maybe you remember the question that I asked, freedom for what? For me, that was the answer, freedom for unlimited travel. It wasn't just travel, it was unlimited travel. Because I already traveled before, and the company sent me to different countries around the world. This time it was for unlimited travel, basically doing what I want, whenever I want, you know, wherever. So my parents were okay, and I got my freedom. And I don't want to talk too much about this here because we're all digital nomads, we are all doing cool stuff and travel, but I'll share a little bit. I flew to Nepal, climbed to the Everest Base Camp, then I went to India, did Vipassana, which was one of my dreams, and then I went to Europe, traveled all around Europe, rented a motorcycle, went to the Swiss Alps, and then I spent 6 months in South America learning Spanish, and I went to Rio, to Carnival. But again, that pain. I couldn't believe that I actually have another pain, you know, living this life. But the pain was more subtle. I remember I was in Ilha Grande. It's a Brazilian island off the coast of Rio. And life was great. I don't know how many people were there, but it's a small island, no cars, no airport, perfect, you know. I held a caipirinha, but something wasn't right. Something was missing. And that thing that was missing was meaning or contribution. I felt that I go to all these cool countries, but I don't contribute enough. I just take, but I don't give. So I launched the Year of Contribution. This is a year that I'm really proud of. I donated money and built a house for a family that lost their house in mudslides. I think 50 people actually joined my project, and at the end of the project we built a house. And also I helped building a school in Dominican Republic. And that's another answer for my question, like freedom for what? For me, it was freedom for contribution, for giving. Not just traveling, but also giving. I also fell in love that year, and we traveled to Israel, and I'm not sure where that was. But together, we set the Year of Adventure, and we traveled the world together for almost 2 years. And I trained to become a Muay Thai fighter in Thailand for 6 weeks. Then I went to Australia and did a road trip around Australia, across the desert, and learned surfing. Surfed all around the world. This is, I think, Sri Lanka. And we fell in love, we were in love, and we decided to get married. I actually got married 3 times in Israel, Australia, and the US, same woman. And at the end of the year, we decided to settle in a place called Newport, Rhode Island. I don't know how many people here are from the US, but it's a small town on the East Coast. I didn't really want to live there, but you know, relationship, you compromise, those kind of things. So I ended up being there. And being in one place meant that I could work more on my business. My email list, this blog that I said that I never planned to actually make money out of it, grew to 10,000 people on my email list, and they started to ask questions and whatever, so I created courses, I launched a software, and by the end of the year, my income, my passive income, got to 6-figure. So that was pretty great. But again, that crisis. This was painful. Our relationship started to collapse. You remember this Newport, Rhode Island? I actually didn't want to live there. During winter, minus 20 degrees, we're digital nomads. Why am I there? I always ask myself this question. But also, we wanted different things. We started to have those problems in our relationship. We went to 3 therapists, and the joke at the time was that there's no more therapists in Newport because it's so small, and so we probably have to move to find therapists. It sounds funny, but it was a painful year, and by the end of the year we separated. We shared it with a glass of wine, so it was a friendly separation, but I felt like a failure. I felt like a total loser, actually. So I launched the Year of Spirituality. I meditated every day. I went to Bali, did 40 days of yoga, detox in Thailand, like fasting for 7 days. And by the end of the year, I knew who I am. In the past, I used to say, I am wherever I want to be. And by the end of the year, the answer was different. I knew that I'm a growth agent. I basically connected with myself. And that's probably another answer for my big question, freedom for what? Freedom for inner growth. So traveling is cool, we're seeing so much stuff, but traveling can be a great experience for personal development, to learn about yourself. And that was the last year number 10, we basically finished my list. I appeared on stage, did theater, I learned to drum. I never thought that I have talent for music, but I managed to 10,000 people drumming in the Israeli Burning Man, which was cool. And also, I launched a book. This was a 500-page book. And if you told me in the past that I'm actually going to write 500 pages book in English, I wouldn't believe that, actually. So, Steve Jobs used to say that you cannot connect the dots forward. You can only connect the dots backward. So looking backward at my journey, I realized that freedom is not enough. There's something behind freedom. And if I can summarize it, it would look something like that. So, freedom for outer success, that's traveling, money. Freedom for inner growth, learning about yourself, like getting your inner skills, improving your inner skills. And freedom for service. And by service, I mean like contribution and giving to the world. And this point in the middle is pretty powerful. Like I can give an example from my own current journey. So I'm launching a book in 2 months. It's about this journey, this 10-year journey. And if I only did it for outer success, if I wrote this book just for money, let's say, that would be okay. I'm not against it. But I'm also doing it as a service. I'm sharing my story. I feel that this is my gift to the world. And also it allowed me to reflect on my journey, to learn more about myself. So now I feel more powerful. So the bigger the why, the more freedom you'll have. That's basically my equation. So the big question that I want to ask you today is, how will you use your freedom? We are all digital nomads. We have this crazy opportunity. We have all that freedom. So don't waste it. Travel around the world is cool and it's great, but from my experience, it only brings temporary happiness. When you do something bigger than yourself, that's where the real happiness is. I actually plan that will be my main message for today, but guess what? Another crisis. Life has its own surprises. So this is me 2 months ago, after a snake bite experience. And I'll share a little bit about what happened. So I was in Israel, went for a run, like a random run. It was nighttime, I was alone, and just when I stopped running, the snake just bit me. Totally unexpected. I was 50 minutes away from the road, so I called my parents. Luckily, I had my mobile phone. And they ordered an ambulance, and I ran to the ambulance. That was a big mistake by itself. But when I got to the ambulance, I collapsed. And at some point, I couldn't move. And at some point, I couldn't breathe. I was really choking. I couldn't speak as well. And exactly that moment when darkness started to engulf me, I thought to myself, maybe that's it. Maybe I should just give up. It was so painful to breathe. I don't know if anyone been in a situation like that, but just the pain of breathing, just to find the air. So that was one thought, but at the same time there was another thought. It can't end. You didn't launch your book. No, I'm kidding. It can't end because you only gave 10%. And I've done a lot of cool things in my life. But the thought came to me, you only gave 10%. And that actually what saved me. Because at that point I started to relax, and after 3 hours I could breathe again. And 5 days later I was out of the hospital. I still have pain. But that basically brought me to that realization that crisis can be a gift. And it can also lead us to a calling. So in my case, for example, you know how the financial problems that I had at the car accident led me to financial freedom. And the divorce led me to know more about who I am. And the snake bite taught me to actually really appreciate every moment, including this moment right now. Just to breathe this and enjoy it, and not like, being so nervous. And this is basically my message, that a crisis can be a gift. So next time a crisis comes your way, and it will come. I mean, you can't avoid it. There are problems going to happen. No one here wants a crisis, but it's part of life. You've heard it before. So when it comes, ask yourself, what is so great about this situation? What is the gift behind this crisis? Because if you can give it meaning, you may actually find your calling. Thank you.